If you do good business, that's free marketing for yourself. The more people that you know, that's branding you more so than you could do for yourself. Because if I sit up here and tell you how great I am, how to network, buy my book, do the things, right? Like, yes, it sounds great. But if Melissa is telling you, buy her book because I learned something, I got networking tips, I'm on the shyer side, but she has something in here for me to help introverts network and grow their relationship, your brand goes much faster. When you're doing a good job, that's free marketing for you. And the more people that you know that are telling people how good of a job you're doing, that's going to help build your brand, because your brand isn't what you say about yourself, it's what other people say about you. So that is the tip for that. Like making sure that the more people that you know and the good things they're saying about you, that's free branding for your business.
Good evening, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to another edition of the Getting the Win Show. I'm your host, Melissa T, the Procrastination Bully. And this week, if you're someone who is shy or struggles to network, or if you want to take your networking to the next level, I have got the perfect person for you this week. Today, I'm talking to Nichole Pointdujour, who is the Master Connector. And that is actually the name of her agency, the Master Connector Agency. We get into all of that today because Nichole is someone who grew up in New Jersey and was the first person in her family to go to college. And from there, God swept her into an incredible world, the incredible world of investing and Wall Street. Like, as someone, African-American woman, going into Wall Street, that is a primarily white male dominated industry, and the gems that she learned in terms of brokering relationships, brokering deals, she brings to the table in her agency and in her book, The Master Connector. We get into all of that in today's interview, not only how she was able to write the book in record time, because remember, I'm always helping you get your book done as quickly as possible. And she found a way to get hers done as quickly as possible. So we get into that process. We get into all the lessons that she's learned in terms of networking with folks and breaking down the science of networking too. A lot of folks may not realize that networking is a process, but Nichole breaks it down in a way that's easy to understand and actionable. These are steps that you can take and apply today. After you're done watching this, today or the next day. All right. So as always, come ready to take notes and get ready to expand your life, expand your relationships. Enjoy the interview. Good evening. As promised, I have the beautiful Nichole Pointdujour in the building. Welcome to the show, Nichole. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get into what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. So you are the Master Connector. I cannot wait to get into this book with y'all, by the way. Please pick this up. Yes. This book, I'll be honest with you, Nichole, is a godsend for those of us who are introverts and do not network like that. So I so appreciate you for putting the work out into the world. So before we dig into the details of the book, please share with our audience your personal journey and how you decided to, like, what your impetus was for even putting the book together, like your journey through networking and growing relationships.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm originally from New Jersey, grew up in the inner cities of New Jersey, and was the first person in my family to go to college. So not only did I go to college, I went to Virginia Union, which is an historically black HBCU, historically black college. I also received my MBA, my master's degree in business, all while, when I got my undergrad, I was still just regular school. But then when I got my MBA, I was working at Wachovia Securities on their trading floor. And then from there, I ended up at JP Morgan as an investment banker, as an investment bank analyst, and then became an equity trader for them for a multitude of years. And in the last 5 years at the company, I was head of national sponsorship. But throughout my whole life, everybody was always telling me to write a book, because how did I make it out of, I was born in Newark, New Jersey, grew up in Vauxhall, which is like five to 10 minutes from Newark, but Newark is the inner city, and so is Vauxhall. How was I the first person in my family to end up on Wall Street at 21 years old as an investment banker and an equity trader, which most people know it's a white male driven place, right? Workplace. And on top of that, they recruit out of Ivy League. I went to HBCU, right? And so, and then I met so many amazing people along the way that people would say, you need to write a book and tell your story. And so last year I was doing an event and I was interviewing Dr. Eric Thomas, which is who we met. I spoke at to his community, and you were one of the people in the Zoom. And I was getting ready to interview him because I do events called In the Room Where the Deals Are Done. And I told Ash Cash, who helps authors write their books, I said, when I get done with this event on March 14th, I need you to help me figure out how to get my story out there. And he said, well, what's the event on March 14th? I'm like, I'm doing an event called In the Room. I'm interviewing Dr. Eric Thomas, Amazon, and Puma are the corporate sponsors. And he said, wait, you got E.T., a New York Times bestseller, Amazon, which your book will be, with this book right here will be sold on Amazon. Like you have to have this book done before March 14th. But y'all didn't know, Ms. Melissa, is that we had this conversation in January, right? In the middle of January. So less than 60 days. And so He always says success loves speed, right? And so I was like, you know what? If you think I can do this in 60 days, get this book out, still working my full-time job, still planning a full-time event, still living my life. I'm a wife. I have family and friends, all these things. But I went head down until let me tell my story. When I first wrote the book, I had 24 chapters and I was sending it out to some of my friends and saying, read certain chapters. They were like, Nichole, this is too long. It's too information overload. So I was able to figure out what was the most important chapters to tell my story. Because again, I'm in my 40s. So my life is I have a long trajectory, but just trying to figure out what's most important to the reader. What gems can I give the reader? What tips that I learned along the way can help the reader? So we narrowed it down to 12 chapters, but I was able to get it done in less than 60 days. And so I was so proud of myself. And on the book, thank you, Melissa, on the book, I got quotes from Egypt Sherrod, Yandy Smith Harris, Felicia Butterfield, Cynthia Bailey, Ian Dunlap, and then Angela Yee wrote the foreword for my book on how I helped her and connected her to some deals. So the book is like my career trajectory, talking about how I grew up in North New Jersey, the first person to go to college, how I made so many great connections along the way. And one thing I love about inside the book is their connection gems. So after you read each chapter, there's a bunch of gems that you need to write down and implement in your life.
Yeah, like there's so much there to unpack. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, y'all, like all of those names she dropped, all of those are on the back cover. So you don't even have to like break the book open to see those. But I love that you were able to establish relationships with those people to get those, you know what I mean? Which I think is so powerful. First, let me step back into your personal journey very quickly. What was your inspiration to go to Wall Street? Like what was your ambition to go there?
Yeah, so I talk about that in the book. So I never wanted to go to Wall Street. I'm just being transparent. I actually wasn't even trying to go to college, just keeping it a buck with y'all on this call. None of my friends were going to college. I told you I'm the first person in my family to go to college, but my mother is amazing. She said every day, you either got to go to college or do something, you got to get out of here. So she used to make me apply to colleges before I can go outside. I had to apply to all these different schools. So I wound up getting into about 7 schools, but Virginia Union gave me the most money. So when I went there, and I do have to tell this story, it's in the book, but I do think it's important because I feel like there's so many gems in this story that will help somebody. So when I went to college, I knew nothing about Dean's List because again, in high school, there's no Dean's List. So I had a friend who her name would be on this plaque every quarter, every semester. And it would say like, her name was Keisha. I said, how did your name get on this plaque? And she said, oh, I was on the Dean's List. And I said, what's that? Because again, I wasn't privy to I didn't know what Dean's List was. She said, oh, you just have to get A's and B's. I was very smart. I didn't take high school serious, but I could pass the test because I knew that I was smart. So I was like, I can get A's and B's. So I started sitting in front of the class, wound up getting a 3.8 in undergrad, graduated with a 4.0 with my master's degree. So because I was on the Dean's List, the career service department lady, I forgot her name, but she came to me and said, you're on the Dean's List, you need an internship. Now, I say this to tell people, when you're in college, we're just taught just to go to school, but your grades matter so much because that's where the jobs come and they pick the people that have the best grades, right? So I tell people, don't just go to college excelling your grades because that's how you get the job opportunities. So she came to me and said, you're on the Dean's List every semester. You're a business major. I need you to get an internship. And at the time I was working at Old Navy making like $7.50 an hour. This is back in the early 2000s, like maybe 2002. And she said, the internship is free. I said, oh no, ma'am, I'm not trying to work for free. I'm at Old Navy. I'm almost about to get to $8. Like, and I just didn't understand the job or just the opportunity that she was presenting to me. She said, just try it out. So my first internship was at Nationwide in the HR department. I got to walk into an office instead of walking into a mall. So it did something to my confidence where I got to dress up, go to an office. I had a desk and like I was in charge of the HR, like new hire pamphlets. So when new hires came in, I put together your packets. I made sure you had everything you needed in the system to get started as a new hire to this place. So that was my first real corporate job out of college. And so Wachovia Securities merged with Prudential in New York. The people in New York did not want to come to Virginia for the opportunity that they were presenting. So they offered a job called brokerage operations specialist to college students that majored in business, economics, and finance. So I told you I was a business major, and at the time I was getting my MBA, and I was graduating top of my class. So the career service, same lady, she said, "Oh, I need you to interview for this job. It's called brokerage operations specialist." I said, "I don't even know what that is." And she said, "Just go and get the interview practice," right? Like, listen, I never even heard of a brokerage operations specialist. What is that? Right? Exactly. So she said, "Just go get the interview practice." So I said, "Okay," because she didn't steer me wrong yet. And she thought enough of me when opportunities came to her desk, she will always sort me out because I was a business major and I had great grades. So I go on this interview, and there's a bunch of interviews, a bunch of different people, financial jargon, all the things. So comes to find out, when I graduated, Wachovia Securities offered me a job, making $30,000 right out of college, and Nationwide both offered me $30,000. They both offered me the same pay. However, Wachovia Securities offered me a $3,000 upfront signing bonus to take their job. So I said, Melissa, I'm going to take this $3,000 and figure out what that means when I get there, because I still don't know what the title is. They were interviewing me. I still don't know what I would be doing, but you were giving me an upfront bonus. When I got my first check, it had a comma in it, Melissa. I had never seen a comma in a check. I told you I was making $750. So I called my mom. I'm like, "There's a comma in my check. I don't know if it's a mistake. Do you want half? I don't even know what to do." And so that was my first job. And so what a brokerage operations specialist is you're brokering deals between the front office trading desk and the back office settlement desk. So you're in the middle, you're brokering the deals. And that was my first experience into Wall Street. So I was in trade support for the equity desk. So equities are stocks and bonds, your Googles, your Apples sold on the New York Stock Exchange. I learned equities very fast. Then I went on to learn bonds on my own. I was like, what is the bonds department doing? So I would work from 8 to 4 on the equities desk, and I would go work for the bonds, because bonds settled at 4 o'clock, the bond desk. And then I went on to learn options. All of that while in grad school, and still graduated with 4.0. I still don't know how I did it to this day. But that was my introduction into Wall Street. And so that's how I got there. So I knew nothing about Wall Street, wasn't planning on going to wasn't even planning to go to college. But the relationships that I met along the way helped me get to where I'm going to. Like I said, that my friend, the career service lady, the people that hired me at my first company.
I love that. I love that. I have a similar trajectory with my career in the news media, because that's where I'm coming from, being an entrepreneur now. Like, I was a freelance writer and was doing it. It was kind of the gateway into journalism. I was doing it more so like pitching articles to different magazines, trade magazines, industry magazines, a lot of blogging, like a lot of online blogs. I was pitching online blogs more often, but I was fortunate enough to land a job with a fashion magazine, an independent fashion magazine that was local to Orlando. And then from there, when I covered a film premiere, another gentleman that was starting his own news outlet met with me, saw the kind of work I was doing, and like recruited me to join his. And then like I followed his for a decade almost. So like I get it. I never intended to become a journalist at all. So I get it. Like, that sort of trajectory where God is like, I got something for you over here. Like, just trust me.
Exactly. Using your gifts and talents to push you where you need to be. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's get into some of these lessons, because you have quite a bit of them in the book. One that I thought was so powerful. This was the one that opened my eyes. You said building relationships is actually a stronger way to like strengthen your branding than self-promotion, which that was mind blowing for me. So please dig into that. Let our audience like break that down for our audience. Like, why is relationship building better for your brand than self-promotion?
So yeah, and I love that question. So three networking tips, and I give these out for free all the time. A lot of them are in the book, but I tell people, and as you heard me talk about it on ET's platform, is one, lead with value. When you meet somebody, figure out how you can help them. The second thing is following up. When you're at these networking events or anywhere you go, following up. So Melissa did a great job. She met me at a thing. She followed right up. And here we are doing the podcast, right? And the third thing is do good business. So if you do good business, that's free marketing for yourself. So when it says that the more people that you know, that's branding you more so than you could do for yourself. Because if I sit up here and tell you how great I am, how to network, buy my book, do the things, right? Like, yes, it sounds great. But if Melissa is telling you buy her book because I learned something. I got networking tips. I'm on the shyer side, but she had something in here for me to help introverts network and grow their relationship. Your brand goes much faster. When you're doing a good job, that's free marketing for you. And the more people that you know that are telling people how good of a job you're doing, that's going to help build your brand, because your brand isn't what you say about yourself. It's what other people say about you. So that is the tip for that. Like making sure that the more people that you know and the good things they're saying about you, that's free branding for your business.
That's powerful. Yeah. And I appreciate that, man. That was like, wow. Like no one's ever said it that way before. So like, I really appreciate that. And for you watching and listening, this goes back to why we do what we do on this show. Like your story matters. Your expertise matters because the way you say something may resonate with somebody in a brand new way that maybe they have heard before or maybe never heard before. In this case, like with what Nichole was saying, I had literally never heard that before. So for
And
you who have
I
a
gave you
story,
guys a
please do
story.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave you guys a story about my makeup artist. Like now she's a celebrity makeup artist because she does a good job of my makeup. Now I plugged her in with at least 10 influential celebrities to do their makeup because she shows up on time. She does good business. Her prices are fair. So like that is just a free branding, word of mouth. She knows me and I'm opening up to my network, who is now opening up to their network. Right. And so she turned
And
into a
actually, I
celebrity
took
makeup
that tip
artist.
from your book too. I noticed like you listed the hair and makeup people in not the content
Yeah.
section, the copyright page, and I was like, that's genius. That was a really
Give them
good way
their
to
props.
plug.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. That was amazing. Talk to us about the due diligence behind networking because you break it down to a science. And I know one of the exercises, like you give a bit of a checklist, like, okay, you've met the person, now do these things afterward, like set yourself up a calendar, make sure you know what their special occasions are, like kind of go into that for our
Yeah.
audience because this really is a science and people may not know that.
It is a science. And thank you for diving into the book so quickly because I literally just mailed it out to you last week. So I love the way you did your homework. Great job, Melissa. But
Yep.
networking is a science, right? And so when you meet somebody, one, you need to lead with value. How can you help that person, right? Once they tell you how you can help them, or then you schedule a call with them. I put calendar reminders. Like I met Melissa yesterday. I need to follow up with her between 24 to 48, 72 at the max hours. You need to follow up with the person as soon as you meet them because you don't want them to forget you. Sometimes what I do now in the new age is I take a selfie with the person. So when I send them the text message, hey, check out our picture. It was a pleasure meeting you here, so that they can remember, put the face to the name that they met you, right? But like I use a lot of things where I put it in my calendar, I follow up. And then when you get the meeting, right, listen out for what they need. What is something you're struggling with in your business right now? How can I help you? What is your 2026 goals? Because people love to tell you what they have going on and tell you what they need help with, right? As they're telling you, you figure out how you can help them. You want to lead with value first before you come with your own ask. And that's going to set you apart from the other 90% of people that when they meet people, they come with their own ask. Hey, can you help me with this? Can you do this for me? Can you do X, Y, Z? Like you're going to set yourself apart because you're going to listen to what they need. You figure out how you can help them solve that need, make the life easier for them. So that way in the future, if you need something, they'll be like, oh my God, I would love to work with Melissa. She helped me with X, Y, and Z. But in the thing, there's a checklist where it's like meeting the person, following up, making a calendar invite, putting in your calendar to remind yourself to follow up. So it's just different steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a follow up to that. So for the person who either doesn't feel like they are necessarily interested in doing all of that, or the person who they might be kind of exhausted and feel like they don't have the energy to do it, or they might have like the kind of head where there's a lot going on and they don't have the bandwidth to figure that out. Like what would be your answer to folks like them? Because your system is effective and it is kind of necessary in order for that to work. So like, how would you
Yeah.
help those who kind of struggle with that?
I love that question. So it's funny. He said to me the other day, Dr. Eric Thomas, he said, people always say Happy New Year, but if you don't do anything new, how is it a new year? So I'm challenging you to one, change your mindset, right? Because if we're doing everything that we've been doing, it's like the definition of insanity, doing everything you've been done, expecting different results. So if you want to increase your network, and I'm telling you, these tips work. Like I have been in some elite rooms, met some amazing people, have a lot of high profile people in my phone from the network that I've built with them, the connection that I built with them. But I would tell you, just try it. Right? Like, yeah, you may have a bunch of things going on, but you are hear me now, write it down. You are one connection away from changing your life. All you need is that one person to change your life. Having more people in your Rolodex is the cheat code to making things easier, to getting things done. So push yourself out of your comfort zone and say, I'm going to go to a networking event. I'm going to meet 5 new people. I'm going to schedule time to meet them within 24 to 48 hours. I'm going to get on that Zoom call with them for 5 to 15 minutes to understand what their goals are, figure out how I can help them. I promise you it's going to bear some fruit. It may not be instantly, right? Because you're nourishing the relationship, but in the end, like I said, that's 5 more people that you have in your Rolodex that you can call on when you need something. If you're an entrepreneur, the more people you know, the easier it is to sell your product in your business, right? And so just think about it that way. So get out of your comfort zone. We have to do things out of our comfort zone to grow and meet more people to make life easier for yourself.
Absolutely. And a quick follow-up with that, because obviously there's a slight nuance between people you meet in person versus people you meet online in terms of groups, whether, joining groups on LinkedIn, groups on Facebook. The dynamic is slightly different. But what do you feel the difference in the approach is? Like when you're nourishing a relationship you've had online where they haven't met you in person, maybe you've had the Zoom call, like is there a difference in the way that you would nurture that kind of relationship versus an in-person?
Yeah. There is difference, right? So like even for myself, I have people that are in my DMs 24/7, asking me things, asking for things. Like it's the nature of the beast because they see me. Like today I posted a picture with Michael Jordan, right? So I was in the room, met Michael Jordan. So people are like, how'd you meet him? Whatever, at different questions. But how I weed out, and then everybody was always asking for my time. And again, time is the only thing you can't get back. So I asked them in the messaging, hey, what do you want to meet about? And they're like, oh, I just want to see if there's synergies. Synergies on what, right? And so like when you're reaching out to somebody on social media or in a DM or on LinkedIn, wherever the platform is, you want to be more direct and say like what your ask is like, hey, it was a pleasure. I've been following your page. I'm really interested in this part of it. Can we schedule 10 minutes to talk about this? You want to be more direct in the online versus in person because they don't know you most of the time and it's their time that they have to give you. In person, you have that window where you can say, I'm Nichole, CEO of the Master Connector Agency. We have the connections to help you grow and scale your business. Would love to schedule some time with you to learn what you're doing for 2026 and figure out if there's synergies there, right? So I can say that more in person because you're meeting me. But online, you have to kind of get to the point quicker just because they don't know who you are most of the time.
Very good. That's a good differentiation. And let me highlight something for our audience real quick. In case you're somebody that is an introvert like me and you're like, I don't know what to tell these people, make sure you don't miss what Nichole said there. She provided a few examples of what you can say in the conversation, which is, what are your goals for 2026? What are your goals for insert year here? What do you have coming up soon? Like, what is your most exciting thing that you're looking forward to? Mm-hmm. Questions like that help because people love talking about themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And one other good one is what's one area in your business right now that you feel like you need help with? Exactly. That's always a good one because you're leading them a service and a listening ear, and then you figure out how you can help them with whatever they're asking for.
Exactly. And to finish that thought, like once you get the answer, even if what they tell you isn't something you know how to do, if you know somebody in your life that does that thing, you can please provide that answer. Like, I can't do that, but I know somebody that does, and then provide them the information. Because now you just made a bridge, which people love fellow connectors, which is, that's Nichole's strong suit. So yeah, real quick, Nichole, like talk about the skill of remembering that stuff too, because that is a whole other skill too. With the amount of people you meet, like how do you personally keep up with who that does what thing to be able to make that connection in the moment?
Yeah, it's funny because I interviewed some of my girlfriends that are like on TV and I was like, what's one connection tip? And somebody said, remembering someone's name. Like people love when you remember their name when you meet them, right? And my memory is not the best. So it's like, that's a harder muscle that I have to flex to make sure I can remember your name. But in my phone, I have where I met you, your state, your city, and where I met you at. So if I met you, I would say Melissa, Dr. Eric Thomas's community, right? Like I literally have that in my phone so that I know that helps me remember. So you can put little things in there. I also share the tip where if we meet, I usually take a selfie with you so I can send it so I can remember what the person looks like. So there's little things that you can do in your phone. Like I put the name, the location, maybe their business or where I met them so that it helps me jog my memory of who I met and where.
Absolutely. This is all gems, y'all. Like run all of this back.
Write all of this back. Get your notebook set up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All of this back. So let's dig into because your book has a ton of those gems. And I love that. I love that. And I noticed the chapters usually have like two, three, sometimes four. Like you drop them like throughout the chapters. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like this is interesting. So what was your mindset with those? Because obviously the chapters themselves are filled with value. And then at the end of each, you have your takeaways and your like action steps.
Hmm.
So for a reader, like, especially if they're doing this real quick and they want to make sure to get like the most distilled bit of information that they need, what do you feel they should extract from the chapters? Like the gems? Should they do the action items? Should they study the takeaways? Like, what do you think that they
Yeah,
should navigate?
no, and I think they should do all of it, right? Like the chapters talk about, I'm giving you real life instances of how I grew my network, how I met some of these people, the rooms that I've been in, what I've done on Wall Street for 21 years that got me to be a VP, the business resource groups that I joined. I even joined a veterans group. I'm not a veteran. Like just different tips that I did to increase my network, right? So the chapter is going to give you the story, and then the homework, the takeaways is like, I read the chapters. This is what I should be implementing in my life. Like this is the homework. This
Mm-hmm.
is the takeaways. The connection gems are just some quick touch points where it's like, this gem is here. She gave it to me. I'm going to put this in my toolbox to use. Right. And so all three of them are important, but like the chapter itself is just literally giving you the blueprint and the playbook of how I did what I did. At the end, the summarizing, like, okay, here's your homework. This is what you should have taken out of this chapter of what I talked about. And then those gems are just like aha moments, like your network is your network, right? Like that's a gem, and how to network if you're shy, and like that's a gem. Like so, there's different gems in there that'll help you just summarize it quicker. But all three parts are important.
Absolutely. And I share that for our audience to hear because I usually like guide them through a layout of their chapters, which is like story, lesson, then your takeaways. If you want to put questions, put the questions there so that
Yeah.
the reader has a way to retain the information, and
Mhm.
then like a hook to lead into the next chapter. So I love that like your book is set up exactly like that. And then with the
Yeah.
gems, like those are for the folks that like to skim. Because if you guys look at her book, the gems are in a gray box. So your eyes like immediately
It pops
catch the
there.
gems.
Yeah, I don't even know if you're gonna ask me this question or not, but I don't know if you want me
Mhm.
to give an example of like how ET and I met. 'Cause I shared that in the community,
Yeah,
or Angela
please.
Yee, right? Like just talking about people that have built their own career trajectory and how I've met them and how we built our own relationship.
Yeah,
Did you want me to
please.
share
Like
that?
talk about
Okay, yeah,
ET. Yeah.
sure. So I think like I said, Melissa and I met through Dr. Eric Thomas's platform, but I shared this story when I spoke to his community. We met in 2009. He was speaking at a Forbes event in New York. So again, I was on Wall Street in New York. My coworker said, go say hi to ET when you meet him. Now I'm from Jersey. I don't know where everybody on this call is from, but like we don't speak to strangers, right? Like that's it. Now I'm the master
That.
connector. So I speak to all the strangers, but back then I wasn't speaking to strangers, but I said, you know what? If the opportunity presents itself, I'll say hello. So there was a VIP meet and greet with Dr. Eric Thomas, which is another part that I put in the book. Pay for the extra thing to invest in yourself. The VIPs are where you want to be. I know it's a little extra money, but that's the people that are paying a little extra money to be in that space. That's who you can meet, the VIPers. So I'll tell two stories. I'm going to do the ET first and then another one really quick, which is a chapter in the book. So ET and I met, and I said, oh, your friend Larry said hi. And he said, Larry, oh, we went to Oakwood together. We went to HBCU together. I said, oh, okay. That was that. I didn't do my 3 networking tips, the lead with value, following up, doing good business. I just said hello to the man and kept it moving. Fast forward to 2021, Pinky Cole was doing these things called sesh sessions, where she was bringing in corporate executives. I was a corporate executive, successful entrepreneurs. Dr. Eric Thomas was a successful entrepreneurs, industry leaders and influencers, all in a roundtable discussion to talk about solving different problems, right? So Dr. Eric Thomas and I were both on the same panel, and we're looking at each other like, he looks familiar. And she's like, you look familiar, but we couldn't figure out where we knew each other from. And then, when you leave somewhere, you're like, oh, that's it. But I actually figured it out after we got off the panel. I'm like, oh, I met you at the Forbes event in New York. So I did the first thing. I said, what are you working on for this year? Like, what are your goals? Like, tell me what you do. Because he was like, what do I do? I was like, what do you do? What are you working on? He said, I'm building this empire. But one of the things I think about is like making sure I leave generational wealth and legacy that my kids know how to run it to sustain themselves when I'm not here. I was on Wall Street in finance at the time. So I said, you know what? I can help you with that. So for 3 to 6, it was about 4 months, Dr. Eric Thomas, his daughter and son, Jalen and Jada, and I, as another financial person at JP Morgan, got on the calls with them every week to do financial planning and to give them tips and resources and tools to grow their businesses. So that's how we met. So one, I asked him a question, what is he working on? Two, I followed up within the next 24 to 48 hours to say, like, let's schedule a call. And then three, I led with value. I did good business. I executed on what I said I was going to do. Fast forward, we built a friendship. I helped them. He even invited me to his daughter's birthday party. And then I spoke at his conferences. He was my guest, but I did my events in the room. But that's how we built that relationship. I led with the value. I followed up and I helped him execute on something that was one of his goals. And the other story I want to talk about, which is in the book, is placing yourself where you see yourself. I think it's chapter 7. It's under the Breaking Breads chapter, but it's also placing yourself where you see yourself. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I was at Essence Fest in New Orleans. I have a platinum Amex card. With the platinum Amex card, it allows you Delta access. So in the lounge, one of my friends, Jamal, said, and I talk about this in the book, said, I want to introduce you to Egypt Sherrod and Cynthia Bailey. So they're both on TV. They both have big platforms. And he was introducing me as a JP Morgan executive. So we meet at in the Delta Lounge, and I asked them, what do I do, y'all? What are y'all working on? What are your goals, right? Like, how can I help you? And they both said, we want to work with more corporations. We want more brand deals, sponsorship deals. We want more speaking engagements. I'm in corporate, right? So what I did was, when I got back to Atlanta, we all were on the same flight. When we got back to Atlanta, I sent them a text message the next day and said, how about this? Let's go to dinner while we're in Atlanta, and I'll schedule some of my friends that work in corporate. We'll all go together. And then I invited some more of my friends that are on TV and influencers, and some of my friends that are corporate VPs of corporations, all to a dinner. It's about 10 of us. They loved it because they got to meet corporate executives, talk about their goals. The corporate executives got to meet them and say, maybe you could be our next guest speaker at our event because you have a platform and you're in the community, you're doing great work. But that's how I did. I met them. I asked them what they were working on, led with value, followed up, and did good business. And now we're friends to this day. Like, Egypt did one of my events as well. Cynthia invites me stuff all the time. But I led with that value. So I think those two stories are important for you to know. Like, even though somebody may have more than us, right? More followers, more money, more all the things, you can always help them. And you have to figure out how you can help that person so that you can grow your relationship and your network. So sorry, those stories might have been long, but I think they're important because they're in the book. And I always tell people, like, if I didn't have the Platinum Amex card, I wouldn't have been in the Delta Lounge to meet them. If I didn't have the VIP ticket at the Forbes event, I wouldn't have met ET, right? And so paying a little bit extra and investing in your business to be where you need to be to meet these great people.
Absolutely. And I love what you said towards the end there. Like, even if the person is a bit more elevated in financially or in terms of the circles that they're running in, don't picture yourself as less than. Like, if you can help them, then you can help them. You know what I mean? Like, your value comes in the fact that you can help them. So, you know what I mean? That was a very powerful lesson. So thank you for sharing that. And like, our audience, like, they need to be reminded of that, because like, our audience is women who are amazing. They're moms, they're wives, they work in the community functions and things like that. And they constantly pour, and sometimes they forget just how amazing they are. So I love that you shared that. I appreciate that. You know what I mean?
And I tell people, you belong in any room you go into. So sometimes they're like, you're in the rooms with the president. You belong in any room God sends you into. So just know that. And everybody is beautifully and wonderfully made and has a gift to offer. So don't sell yourself short. You have something to offer somebody, and you belong in any room you step foot in. So I just had to add that because I get asked that question all the time. Well, I'm shy, or I may not know what to do around these. No, you belong there just like everybody else. They just have a different talent than we have, but we all have talents.
Exactly. And very quickly, I wanted to highlight the importance of the breaking bread thing, because I love that section of the book, because you talked about the fact that not only is it just the eating, like, it's physiological and psychological. And so our point now with being in rooms with, you know, celebrities and people like that, your point in the book was, when you set up an opportunity for people to break bread, it levels the playing field, because having a meal is something everybody enjoys, regardless if they're the president of a corporation, a hip hop artist, an art dealer. You know what I mean? Like, it levels the playing field because everyone enjoys a good meal. Like, share with that. I know you just shared that story, but like, what was your first like experience bringing people together like that, like on your terms, creating your own table? Kind of tell our audience about that.
Yeah, and I love that question. So yeah, there's a whole chapter in the book called Breaking Bread to Break Barriers, because there's something special about sharing a meal with somebody that breaks down the barrier. They start to tell you more about themselves, about their lives, about what they have going on. And so for me, it's like, yes, when you meet somebody, like you may schedule a Zoom, right? They don't really know you, but that second meeting, try to do a coffee date or a lunch date. Dinner might be a little bit too much, but try to do a coffee or a lunch so that they can have a meal with somebody and break bread and get to learn a little bit more about them. The first time that I ever orchestrated on my own, because I've done it at work and corporations and all those things on my own, was the one that I did with Cynthia Bailey's and the Yandees. And I did like my friends that were in corporate. And that was about 3 years ago. And they loved it. So I turned it into a whole business where it's called In the Room Where the Deals Are Done. And we serve, like the VIP gets a meal. You get to meet corporate executives, industry leaders. But the first one that I did for myself and my business, the Master Connection Agency, was that dinner with my friends that I met at Essence and then my friends that I had here. But early as childhood, right? Christmas dinners at grandma's house and my mom hosting Sunday dinners, like those were things where your family comes over and you break bread and you get to know what's going on in your family members' lives, right? And there's like, it's something about sharing a meal at the large table, big mama cooking or your mom cooking and your siblings and your cousins, and you're all just talking about what's going on in your life. So there's something about, like I said, sharing that meal with somebody, breaking bread to break barriers, which is the chapter in the book. I think it's chapter 7 or maybe 4. Lets people's hair down to understand what's going on more personally in their life.
Yeah, the chapter opens up with one that was really tense because you were saying you had two people that they were trying to negotiate a deal, but they were at odds with each other, and they started out like with the arms folded, but then like by the end of the meal, they were in full rapport. Didn't close the deal at the meal, but like 2 weeks later, they were able to close the deal. So I love that you were able to facilitate connections like that. That's very powerful. And I'm with you with the family meals thing because my folks are Caribbean, so we Jamaicans we have, huh?
Where you from?
That? Jamaica.
Oh, okay. I got the best Caribbean food ever. Well, Haitian, my husband's Haitian, so I like their food too. But I love me some jerk pork and jerk chicken in Callaloo when I go to Jamaica. It's so good.
Exactly. And we used meals as a way to bond as well. So that resonated with me for sure. In terms of like reaching out to those corporate folks, because that can seem intimidating for some as well. For folks that want to start the conversation of a corporate sponsorship or partnership, if they have an event coming up, what are some best practices for them in terms of broaching that conversation? And more importantly, like who should they be reaching out to? Because sometimes it's not so much what we're asking, we might be asking the wrong person. So kind of guide our audience through that.
Yeah, so every corporation, especially the big ones, have a dedicated sponsorship person. So you have to look on on LinkedIn and figure out who is head of sponsorship, partnership, civic engagement at that organization. That's how you find who's that. Sometimes a lot of the marketing team has sponsorship budget because, again, they're using their marketing dollars to market the company's business, right? And so that's the first thing. That's how you locate who you should reach out to for a corporate sponsorship. The second thing is, go on the company's website, look at their vision, their mission, their goals. So this ties back to an individual, right? When I said find out what the individual is working on for 2026, their goals. When you look for a corporation to work with, look at what their vision statement is, their mission statement is, what they're trying to accomplish in 2026. And then you tell them why partnering with you and your organization will make sense for them to partner with you to help them execute that mission or goal, right? So if their mission is to be more involved in the community, hey, I run a nonprofit, and that's one myth I want to say on this call. Nonprofits are not the only ones that get corporate sponsorship dollars. For-profits do as well. I'm a for-profit. I was able to get Amazon, Puma, Truist, other large corporations to sponsor my 1-year-old business. And I'm out. A lot of my clients are not nonprofits, and I'm helping them get corporate sponsors as well. But going back to what I'm saying is, you have to figure out how to solve their problems, how to help them execute on what their mission is. So if your brand is doing that, when you reach out to them, hi, Melissa, I'm Nichole, CEO of the Master Connector Agency. I was looking on your website. I see that your mission is to do X, Y, and Z. That I would love to have a conversation, because you don't want to ask them for sponsorship dollars in an email or on a message, but I would love to have a conversation with you on the synergies that my company does and your company does to help execute X, Y, and Z, right? So that's how you do it. So there's a soft email. I would play around with the wording on ChatGPT. That's our friend nowadays. But look on their website to figure out what their goals are and how your company can help them execute and achieve their goal faster.
That's good. Appreciate that. Because like, again, asking on behalf of all the introverts that may be super shy and may not know where to look. But this right here was a bar for you. If that's your pain point, this was very helpful for you if you're working on something like that. And then please share with our
And my
audience that
company helps with
window.
that.
Huh? What's
Yeah.
that?
So my company helps with that. So we help people get corporate sponsorships. We help people grow their network. So if you want more in depth, like, hey, I got an event coming up, I need some corporate sponsors, reach out to me. I don't know if Melissa will put all my information in
Yep.
there where to find me, but that's what my company does. One, we help you grow your network to grow your net worth. We have a membership community where we teach business owners how to grow and scale. We offer different speakers every month, but a part of it is corporate sponsorship too. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you want more help on it, like that's what we do.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely have you rattle off all the things at the very end for sure, because we
Yeah, no
want to make
worries.
sure to put it up on the screen and in the show notes for sure, for sure. In terms of like that window, that's what I was asking, the time window. Because during our call, you were like, "Hey, a year." Like if you're trying to reach out to the big boys, like a year. Like don't be trying to do it like 6 months or 2 months. Like make sure
Mhm.
you give yourself a year because they're already starting to allocate their budgets. So like we
Yes.
know that for the big guys, but have you noticed that? Have you noticed any other kind of time windows depending on the size of the business, or is that just like a good like SOP for any business?
Yeah, no. So the larger the corporation, the more red tape you have to cut through because they have thousands of employees, they have thousands of approvals, right? And so if you want sponsorship from Nike or Coca-Cola, right? Like if the first person wants to sponsor, that's the first round. But then they have to get approvals from finance and compliance and all these other layers to before they can tell you yes. Most Fortune 500 companies plan their budgets a year in advance. So the soonest you know that you want to do an event and you're looking for corporate sponsors, the sooner is you need to get the ask out there. So liquor brands can tend to sponsor within the same month because they just have to bring
Wow.
a case of liquor, right? So you can give them 30 to 60 days because they get asked for a lot of events. But if you want a corporate sponsor, and usually liquor sponsors are just in kind, like they're giving you liquor in kind, they're not giving you dollars. But if you want dollars from these organizations, it needs to be the sooner the better. Like the sooner you know you want to do it, the better is to get the ask out there. Smaller organizations may have a shorter time frame. But yeah, that's just the rule of thumb. Once you know you want a corporate sponsorship, you need to put the ask out there, and you need a sponsorship deck to get started, which is what my company helps with as well. That you can't have a conversation with any organization without a deck, and we go into that in my organization of what your deck should consist of.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Our folks needed to hear
Mm-hmm.
that. Y'all
Mm-hmm.
run that back. Um, so I guess like one of the last questions I want to ask you, like given our audience, as I mentioned, like these are women who have navigated a trauma or a major transition. It doesn't necessarily have to be a trauma, but a major transformation that they've gone through. And I'm helping them find healing through writing that first book.
I
Like
love that.
talk to our audience about like your process. Cause you said 60 days. That is quick to turn the book around. What was your process like when you did yours? Were you voice recording? Did you have a set like word limit that you had to type every day? Like, what was your process when you were writing your book?
I did the voice recording because I wasn't typing every day, especially because I had the 60 seconds. So, and we did an interview style actually.
Ooh,
So, Ash Cash's team would say, "Tell me about how you grew up. Tell me what's the most important part of growing up. Tell me a story of this." So, like, they would interview me and they did my voice recording. So that was how we did the book. And then I'm like, oh, I want gems in there. I want I want things to highlight at the end, like because sometimes you read something and be like, okay, what did I just learn in that chapter? So that's why I did the gems and the takeaways. But that's how I did it because I wasn't sitting there typing. Again, I was working full time and running a business and planning a major event and all the things. So for me, it was easiest for them to interview me about each chapter, and then I talked about my life story and how I got to where I got to. So that was a style for me. And then you talked about
gotcha.
transformation. So I just wanted to add this. When you first said, "Oh, I talk to women that have been through things and all the things," and I was like, "Well, that's not really my story. Like everybody's been through something."
Yeah.
However, me being a full time entrepreneur is a huge transition for me. I went from a great 6 figure Wall Street job, check coming every 2 weeks, to God pushing me and saying, "Nichole, you need to do this Master Connector agency full time so I can bless it so you can reach more people and expand your network." I just got asked to speak at Black Enterprises Women of Power next month, which is a big deal. Thank you. And I'm like, you sure they want me? They're like, yeah, we want to hear your story and how you grew your community, how you met so many people, how you network, right? And they're letting me sell my book at the event in the author's corner. So I'm just grateful for that. But my story is I want to say of triumph because God has continually blessed me and placed me in different areas. But for a Black woman growing up in the inner city to a teenage mother and ended up on Wall Street in the Ivy League. Like, it just, I don't even know how, but I was like, I got to get this in this book and tell the story. And me being a full-time entrepreneur, I'm actually hosting a class, but it was yesterday because it's recording tomorrow. But on the corporate pivot, 400,000 Black women have lost their jobs since last year. 400,000. I'm a Black woman. I left corporate America last year. But I'm here to tell you, you'll be okay. Because it's scary. The bills don't stop when you lose your job. They are still there, but you will be okay. So I also teach people how to pivot successfully out of corporate America into entrepreneurship. And I teach a whole class on that, how I made 6 figures in 6 months, y'all. I made 6 figures in 6 months with launching the business. 6, right. And what the systems I used and how I set up my business and how I got the corporate sponsorship. If I didn't have the corporate sponsorship, I would have made 6 figures in 6 months. But because I had Amazon and Puma backing my business, that helped me get there faster. So I give you guys all those tips. One, I teach classes. I have a membership community. But I was to tell you, like, you're going to be okay. I went all about to say, like, you are going to be okay. Every day that we wake up above ground, it's another day to get it right. So whatever you're going through, it only gets better the next day. So you will be okay.
Beautiful. That's a great final thought to put the bow on everything. Because I agree with you. Like, things tend to look tense out here. So, like, our audience definitely needs that reminder because they are juggling all the things, just as you are. You know what I mean? And you're like, I'm thriving out here, so can you. You know what I mean? So, for sure. So please let our audience know how they can get connected, how they can learn more from you, get the book, all the things.
Yeah, so I love that. And thank you again, Melissa, for this opportunity to speak to your platform. And you are doing the God's work. You are helping women overcome their triumph through storytelling. So like, everybody
Yes.
has a story to tell. So kudos to you for doing this and putting this together. So the easiest way to find me is on Instagram. It's the THE master. So all one word, the master _ connector. So I post everything on there. You can find all the upcoming events that I have. So I have an event coming up March 7th, which will be on my Instagram page. It's $47, but you come to the event. There's light bias drinks, and I'll talk to you about the importance of being a part of a community. So I have a community, the Master Connector Agency, where we talk to you about every area of business. When I did the event called In the Room Where the Deals Are Done, where I interview a multimillionaire celebrity and bring in my network of corporate executives and industry leaders, people wanted more from me. And I said, I know nothing about entrepreneurship. That's my vulnerability. I know how to be a corporate executive, Wall Street worker, vice president, trading. I know how to do all those things. But running a business full time on my own, I did not know. So I launched the Master Connector Agency community, where I bring on experts every single month to teach us how to run and grow our business. We have experts coming on talking about trademarking, marketing, branding, credit repair, business funding. I have Dr. Contessa coming on next month. She's on Married to Medicine, talking about internal medicine. You can have all the money in the world, but if your health isn't right, how can you spend the money, right? And so, yeah, and then I have somebody coming on talking about public speaking. A lot of people want speaking engagements. How do we public speak? How do we get to be a public speaker? How do we get our worth? There's a guy in our community. He heard her speak before. She came last year. She's going to come back because she was so good. He was charging $500 to speak. He lost his vision to gun violence, and he would speak to the audience. He would speak at different community organizations, and it would pay him $500. She said, you need to add an extra zero on the back of that. He said, 5,000. She said, yeah. She said, you're going to run my customers away. They're not going to pay me that. They don't want to hear my story. He started requesting $5,000. He got booked 2 months later to fly to California from New York. He got paid $4,000 and $1,000 for his flight and hotel fare. He was like, Nichole, you boosted my confidence. So it's stories like that we help people in the community. Like, we help you with your business fund. Like, starting a business is expensive. That's the one thing people don't tell you. Running a business is expensive, right, Melissa? Like, I have to pay extra for Zoom, right? I never paid for Zoom before. It's free for 45 minutes, but my meetings are over 45 minutes. Every little thing adds up, your systems, your team. So we talk about getting business funding to make sure that you're not using your own capital and using interest-free capital for 12 months while you get your business up and running. But there's different tips. I bring on a speaker every single month. We have a mindset coach that comes on once a month on the Mondays. All starts in your mind. So she gets us right, gets us our minds positive for the month. We have office hours with me. So external people pay me to get consultations on how I made it through Wall Street as a Wall Street vice president, how I grew a business 6 months, six figures in 6 months, how I be in all these elite rooms, right? So people pay me for consultation, but my members get office hours with me once a month. And then we are Mighty Network. So we do different challenges in there. We do hot seat Thursdays where if you have a business challenge, you put it in. So One, if you want to come learn about the community, March 7th, I'm doing a in-person event in Atlanta. I don't know where you guys are located, but we're doing one in Atlanta. Tickets are $47. Again, my book, you can get it on my website, which is www.themasterconnectoragency.com. Again, that's www.themasterconnectoragency.com, all one word. And again, all this information is on my Instagram, which is the master_connector. If you want to find me or sign up for the membership community, which is $147 a month, or the event I'm doing on March 7th here in Atlanta, which is $47 for the entry.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Nichole. Like, you guys, if this is a fit for you, tap in, like dive in, okay? Whether her community, if you want to get your feet wet and you're in the Atlanta area or can drive to the Atlanta area to go to the event, I strongly recommend you go. And I love the point that you made, Nichole, about making the extra investment to, if there's an upgraded level, like invest in that to be able to get the time to talk to the person. Because it's one thing to glean the information, it's another to get to meet them and like share space with them. So thank you so much.
I even talk about another chapter in my book. So it's in the book. So it's funny because I'm from Newark, New Jersey. So like we're inner city. We didn't come from money. And I started flying first class. And I remember flying home to Jersey. And in the book I talk about it, my uncle, my first class ticket was $1,400 from Atlanta to New Jersey. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so accustomed to flying first class. I'm going to still do it. So when I got to Jersey, my uncle said, Nichole, you're from Newark. You don't need to be paying $1,400. Sit and coach. You can meet somebody that could be a member in your community and coach. I said, but I can meet an investor in first class. So again, right, the person that's paying the other $1,400 to sit next to me, like you never know what they're doing. And so and when I got back on the plane, I met somebody that was helping me with my business in first class. So again, paying a little extra to invest in yourself to meet other people that are paying extra to be there as well. Same thing for my events. There's a general admission, but VIP, you get a meet and greet with the guests. You break bread and have dinner upstairs. So, but thank you. And I'll let you have the last note, Melissa, but that just came in my mind where I'm like, invest in yourself. Even if you come to the event, invest in yourself, which is in return, investing in your business. So
very true. I appreciate you. Like this has been great. Thank you so much for being on. And yeah, like we'll definitely continue to be in touch, and like any way that I can support you, like I'm happy to. So appreciate you.
Thank you. Likewise. Awesome.
Very actionable interview, right? Like you got a lot of gems out of that one. I certainly got a lot of gems, not only out of our interview, but out of Nichole's book. So if you have the opportunity, be sure to go to her website. All of this is in the show notes. So be sure to go down there, get the link to go to her website and grab a copy of her book. Like these are strategies that you'll be able to keep with you, like long after this interview is over. You know what I mean? Being able to join her community. And that way you get access to her and all of the valuable information that she's able to provide. Like this is somebody you want to know. Nichole is someone you want to know and establish a relationship with. So join her community, get a copy of her book. If you're available in March, make your way to Atlanta to participate in that event and buy up to that VIP level. You know what I mean? Upgrade to make the investment to be with the most important people in the room so you can glean value from them, but also share your value. Because as Nichole said, you belong in any room you walk into. You belong in any room God leads you to. So with that said, in the meantime and between time, have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week.